Welcome back to Athletic Director U. I'm Steph Garcia Cichosz, and we are here in San Antonio for the 2023 NCAA Convention. I'm delighted to be joined by Frazier, who is the Vice President and Director of Athletics and Recreation at NIU. Sean, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, about a year ago or so, we talked virtually and kind of had a bit of a dive into the state of the industry. Now we're here at convention. We have the recommendations from the Transformation Committee. I want to know where we stand today. What's the future of the NCAA? Now that we have these recommendations, what is your first take?
You know, it's interesting because, the Transformational Committee just released its official report, I believe January 3rd. And, I've been fortunate because I've got Julie Cromer, who was the co-chair of the committee in our conference at Ohio, and she's done a phenomenal job. And she's been able to debrief us as a AD room, presidential room, and she's just been a real good beacon of thoughts so we can have the shared agenda, this conversation. So I've had some time to really think about it. So the report itself, other than some of the pieces in there with scholarships and the like that were different, but I would say, yeah, I think this is a bombshell. I'm just put it out there. From an institutional standpoint, and I can only speak from NIU's perspective, this is a time of change, and we've already been going through some change already, post-COVID, being a bit of exposed a little bit with some of the rules and regulations that have to be modernized. I think with this particular report and what it signifies is that if you are a lower resourced, Division I specifically, institution, you're going to struggle. And it's going to take a lot of us to come together to talk about sustainability as it relates to a number of different factors, from mental health to diversity and inclusion to scholarship to student experience. There's a lot to unpack. I think for me, 10 years into my journey at NIU, this just signifies that we've got to do the things necessary for student-athlete experience, but the sustainability side of things, we really have to even drill down further to make sure that we can continue to do what we do, which is to provide a great experience and also to win championships, and most important thing, graduate our student athletes.
Well, when you see this report as, from the AD chair, less from the big picture NCAA sustainability, but from your institution's vantage point, where do you start? What's kind of the first priority that pops out to you as an AD?
Well, the student-athlete experience piece is huge, right? I think that the drilling down and trying to get everyone underneath one tent, which is kind of the mantra of the committee, is understanding providing those experiences for student-athletes. The big one being mental health, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone's talking about it, dealing with it. We deal with it nationally. And it's not just for our students, it's also our staff as well. So we've seen that during COVID on how important. So the adding of a clinical professional, someone who is on staff directly for athletics, big thing. We've already instituted a person that's for our athletes only, Dr. Cheyenne Beach. I'll shout her out. She's done a phenomenal job, and quite frankly, developing the things necessary. But she's booked from sun up to sundown. So we're starting to see, okay, build it and they will come. Well, they were already going to come. And now we have to start taking a look at how do we build out that operation and that unit. And it is a necessity. It's not an option. So that was a big thing. And I think the other pieces for me from a lens standpoint is the funding model, right? Okay, we were already looking at margins and finances and seeing exactly what's happening on, but we also don't want to compromise standards relative to Title IX, relative to the sport offerings. All that has to be put in the blender, and we got to figure it out at the end of the day. So we're for an institution our size and the resources that we have available to us, this is another stressor. But one, I believe that if we can come together from a conference standpoint and from a like institution standpoint to make sure that we're moving forward and not moving back. So I don't know if I answered the question, but yeah, it's a lot. My desk is full of competing priorities, yes. And that's basically what it is.
Well, one thing that NIU is excelled on, is an industry leader on, is the DEI piece. It is more of a conversation right now in the industry. Everyone is talking about it. Everyone's trying to address it. But what is kind of the next phase of implementing DEI and incorporating it into the fabric of college athletics?
Yeah, no, it's a good one. Obviously, in the transformational committee document, there's already requirements, I should say, markers that diversity and the NCAA intersect. They've done a great job with the certain programs. I'm a product of a number of the programs. I think now the new look of DEIB, B being belonging, is just that. It's how do you operationalize it where it can be seamless. So we're not sitting around, oh, that's DEI, that's DEI. No. What we're doing is that it's in the fabric because of the fact we live it, we breathe it, we hire it, we do all the things, quite frankly, that keeps us competitive. And I think that once we get out of the framework that this is an add-on or I must do it this way, that's when we achieve greatness. That's where we create the shared agenda. And I think a lot of institutions are in different levels of that continuum. Let's not beat up all the institutions that have not put effort into this particular area. Let's provide the roadmap of understanding. And I think that where we are, we have to get better. Just because we have an award-winning program or system, and I really appreciate the accolades, but at the end of the day, it's a daily process. And it's into the fabric of what we do, so it's hard to cut something or take something away if it's in the fabric. You basically destroy the whole thing if you try to do that. So I think that institutions have a great opportunity. Student athletes are leading the way. Administrators are leading the way in this particular area. And I just think that this is a daily maintenance protocol to make sure that we're getting it done so we can give the best experience for both our students and our staff.
I love that you said that daily maintenance protocol. Let's think about it as brushing our teeth every day.
Correct.
This is just part of what we do and who we are.
Correct.
Well, the other huge media narrative these days is about money. And there's two sides to that. So first is money from the administrative side, the coaching salaries, the media right contracts. Where do you see the industry moving on those issues?
Well, it's already shift, right? It's heavily digital based. We're talking about the content creation, the ability to, the whole name, image, and likeness for our student athletes. It also folds right into the institutional branding. There's no such thing as standing still, right? You're moving forward or you're moving back. I say that a lot with our staff, and I guess sometimes I get rolled eyes, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. You have to keep that tempo. It's the whole speed of the game, right? So I think that for us in the MMR, multimedia rights or naming rights or any of the inventory pieces that athletics in its overall plan, its portfolio needs to evolve. Right? There was a time when we didn't have our phones and different things and all that. I'm a bit of a dinosaur there, but it's a daily process. It's a daily maintenance protocol, making sure that we're reaching out and embracing our alumni base, making sure that from a recruitment standpoint, people understand who you are and your brand and what it stands for. So I think all those things are constant changes, and they have to be, quite frankly, evaluated. And we like to do that in a lot of different ways. At NIU, we have a revenue generation group that meets regularly. We have folks that are coming in and giving us suggestions about X, Y, and Z as far as how to recruit better, how to represent better. Again, building a better mousetrap relative to finances. We have a lot of success in our football program. People know that. It's a national brand for us. We have a great location in Chicagoland, third largest media market in the country. We need to capitalize that. We have over 200,000 living alums in Chicagoland doing the things necessary to support the Huskies. So again, we're constantly trying to find a way how we can have a connect. How can we have an intersection? How can we support each other? So that's probably the big thing right now that we're focusing on, but those things change and the expectations behind them change and the business model has changed. You're probably not going to see these large guarantees anymore. There's going to be a lot more profit sharing. There's going to be a lot more, you do this and we can do that. You got different categories from cannabis to gambling to, these things just don't stop. We have to evaluate how we continue to make them work for us. So it's there's no shortage of work.
No, not at all. Again, the piles on your desk are getting higher. Well, the other side of this is money for student athletes through NIL, but then the big topic, the transfer portal. What's ahead for football?
Oof. Wow. I will tell you that has changed. I was just at the AFCA, American Football Coaches Association meetings to talk to some aspiring young coaches, and the buzz is wild, wild west. It's affected us all different ways. Now it's great. The portal's great in concept. I totally support students doing that, taking a look at different things. But now we just got unscrupulous types that are calling folks on our roster and encouraging them to go into the portal because there's going to be this huge sum of money at the end of the rainbow. It's gotten away from us, and we've got to fix it. I think it's important for us not to belabor the fact that it's broken. I'm tired of hearing that it's broken. I'm tired of looking on Twitter and seeing people complaining about the fact that it's broken. Yes, we know it's broken. Now, how are we going to fix it? How are we going to move to the line to make it happen? So I think that's the biggest issue, and it's very damaging because we're starting to see too with the data that the data that we're seeing in the portal that folks are going in with scholarships, and then some of them are coming out the back end with no scholarship and no access to higher education. And for me, as a minority male, that is daunting, and I'm anxious to see what populations and what is happening in regards to that, because higher education is expensive in our country. And without having a scholarship to be able to move you to the next level of generational wealth and competency and all those things that's necessary, that is an absolute. So that is disturbing to me. We need to figure that out. But I think the portal itself has changed the game with recruiting. I always tell coaches all the time, we're going to have to re-recruit. And I'm talking about daily. Re-recruit is probably not the old school coach mentality. You get here, you get your stuff, you go out, you go on. Now we have to readapt to all those pieces, and that's been a real struggle for some of the coaches who were not familiar with that. So that's a process that I've seen a lot of angst with my colleagues, with the coaches, and just our industry. But we do have to fix the reckless abandon, the Wild Wild West show that's happening right now, the clandestine phone calls in the middle of the night to kids about getting into the portal because this magical dollar amount is at the end of the rainbow. Those things have to be cleaned up, or we'll go as the dodo bird. We won't be here long, I can tell you that much.
How does this trickle down and impact the Olympic sport model? Because yes, we talk about football and basketball, but a vast majority of athletes at NIU and across the NCAA are not football and basketball players.
Yeah, I was on a couple of committees looking at the sustainability of that with the USOCP, and it was interesting to take a look at that, and I'm honored and flattered to take a look at the Olympic movement and also to our Olympic sports. They're really important to us, and we have a number of those sports offerings at NIU, and it has affected. It's interesting though, looking at the name, image, and likeness, and we have a number of different tools. We have a collective, we have all those type of things. I don't want to be, someone living in a glass house and throwing rocks, but some of our Olympic sports have been the most enterprising relative to marketing themselves. Okay. Understanding that you get what you get what you put into it. We are providing financial literacy and all the other things necessary because obviously this is educational. It's a great opportunity for an educational experience outside of what they currently do. But this Olympic movement, we've watched our track teams and our gymnastics, and you can see that they're really making this work for them. I think what concerns me as we take a look at this finances, especially at a place like us, are we taking a look at sport offerings and decreasing them? What is happening? How can we sustain what we currently have? So we're always watching that. That's something that's out there. It's a big concern, quite frankly, of USA. You can add the tagline, whatever sport, because a bulk of our Olympic athletes come from our institutions. A lot of them. And they grow up through that process, and they are mentored in that process. So if we start shutting the lights off and doing things that, quite frankly, are going to adjust that, I know that's a big concern. And I know there's a lot of folks that are working on that, smarter than myself. But I'm a big advocate for USA, the Olympic movement, and all the things that go along with making sure that we do the best we can for our country.
We have LA 2028 coming up. We have to keep our Olympic sports strong.
Absolutely.
Well, as we wrap up here, we are at the NCAA Convention. We have a new NCAA president coming in, former Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker. What is your advice for him as he comes and tries to take a look at what we have coming?
I don't know him at all, but he's very popular. So So just knowing the fact that he's a very popular governor, and I've got my older brother who's a police officer in Randolph, Mass. Shout out to Glenn Frazier. He likes him. So, hey, you know what I'm saying? A big brother likes him. And I've watched what he's done in the great state of Massachusetts. So one thing that I am very upbeat about, you know, the NCAA has an image problem. Henceforth, I have an image problem because I'm a part of the NCAA. I don't want to separate those two. Folks like to, you know, beat up on the NCAA. No, I'm the NCAA. I'll own that. I also want to be a part of the solution as well. I do think that he's going to be able to bring together that congressional component that we were lacking, that we need to have uniformity. We have to have the ability to connect on levels where we can explain the narrative, why we're doing X. And I think someone with his portfolio, his background, his ability to bring people together is the right leader at the right time. So I think right now I'm upbeat. Now again, I'm a action-oriented person, just like folks want to know what I'm doing lately. I'd like to know what he's doing on a regular basis to be able to move that agenda. But I am optimistic, and like we said, you know, we have an image problem. This industry has an image issue. It has a runaway train type mentality right now. We talked about the portal. We talked about NIL. We talked about pay for. These are all things that are out there that folks are looking at our industry and saying, oh my goodness, where's the leadership? How are we solving these issues? Is this sustainable? So I think right now, not having met with him or putting myself on blast, I'm optimistic about his skill set and his ability from a congressional standpoint and lifting us up and moving us in a direction of leadership. So that's where I'm at right now.
What are we getting right now? There are a lot of things piling up on the desk, a lot of issues to address, but what is going great in college athletics?
Well, you know, it's still, you know, so emotionally passionate. You know, watching the contest, we're in, you know, the hunt of men's and women's basketball and our winter sports. So what we get right is that I really believe our campuses provide a great experience. Championship experience. So, you know, obviously I'm in the MAC, I'm at NIU. I know my fellow ADs, my presidents, they do a great job of leadership in providing a quality experience. And then the academic balance between athletics and academics, it's there, right? So we get that right. If you look at our numbers, you see what we do, the graduation rates, you know, the GPAs, we do that better than anyone across any of the academic lines because of the fact that we nurture that behavior because of the eligibility and everything else that go along. So we got that down. What we got to get better is that we legislate certain things and then we worry about trying to figure out to pay for it and other types of things. And we got to figure that out because this is not sustainable. In any other private business, we would not do that. So I think it's important. Then we have to also make sure that the opportunity piece, I'm really passionate on this, understand as a population, just like myself, yours truly is a product, that the reason why I got an education was through sport. And if we lose that in the modernization process of taking a look at everything we do, that would be tragic. In this country, you've got to pay for higher education. Regardless if I like that or not, that is the deal, okay? And if we lose that opportunity for young people that cannot use this as a vehicle to attain higher education, my God, that would be tragic. So I gave you a little bit more than what you thought, but that's kind of where I'm at with it.
There is a lot of change happening right now, a lot to come, but there's still a lot of good.
Yeah, for sure.
Sean Frazier, thank you so much for joining us, for giving us this deep dive into where we are right now. We're here at the NCAA Convention. I'm looking forward to this next 12 months plus to see where this industry goes.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate you.